Everyone wants more money, but most of us weren't taught how to create an abundant life. That's where the law of attraction, manifesting success stories show comes in. If you are ready to have more money, create more freedom, and experience more fun, turn the volume up. It's time to learn how to create the prosperity and life you have been dreaming of. Here's your host, Cassie Parks.
Hello and welcome to this episode. I am your host, Cassie Parks, and I am back with Polly Rojas. Welcome, Polly.
Hello, Cassie.
Hi.
Interview number 10, right?
It is interview number 10. I'm so excited.
Me too.
So fun. So tell us, how has your future self been showing up?
Well, she's been pushing through because I got sick, and she's like, I'm still here. She's in the midst of like Kleenexes, shouting, I'm still here. And I have a big trip coming up, the biggest trip I've ever done, I feel. And lining everything up and knowing that it's okay and staying excited versus anxious about it.
Yeah.
It's been a cool, interesting journey.
Yeah.
So yeah, being sick
Absolutely.
and traveling. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. I love how she's showing up. And so tell us about the trip. And then I want to hear definitely how like navigating between excitement and nervousness and anxiousness.
Absolutely. So every year for the past like 3 or 4 years, my boyfriend and I travel on Christmas because it's ideal. He's also in the in the entertainment industry, and so it's just ideal to go away for like Thanksgiving, Christmas, and into January because it kind of quiets down a little bit.
Yeah.
So it started with a month in India, and then we did 2 weeks in Cuba, and then now we're doing 2 months in India and the Middle East, to countries that we always wanted to go to. Yeah. And so it's so exciting, and it's amazing because I still have like my vision board from years ago when before my boyfriend and I even started dating, and I had all these countries I wanted to visit with him. And it's so cool to see like all the countries I had forgotten I put in.
Yes.
And then, like, the countries we're going to go. So it's like law of attraction at work. It's constantly reminding me. So we leave November 10th and we come back January 9th. So it's like a full.
Yes.
And what's funny is like, I keep talking about preparing and aligning and everything, but it's almost like I haven't really done anything.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, this is a trip, and these are the days, and he did 2 months last year. We traveled to Vietnam, and then I met him for a month. So he's like, oh, 2 months is nothing. I'm like, for you, it's nothing. For me, like, I'm very important,
Yes.
as my ego. But so getting ready for that, we've got the tickets, we've got the visas. So Pakistan was a little bit tricky, but it actually ended up being really easy and quick.
Yeah.
And then Saudi Arabia has always been really important for me because my dad lived there. And it's been a really tricky process in the past because it's such a conservative country. And like, you had to have the visa process. It was really, really tricky because you have to get permission from a man. If you're a female traveler, it's insane. It's like not possible. But then we decided we wanted to go to Saudi Arabia by whatever means. And all of a sudden, like, the visa process is now on arrival. It just happened September 27th.
That's amazing.
And it's just like, oh, thanks, universe. Like, talk about something that you thought would never happen, like a country that has a history of being so restrictive, opening up their gates for tourism, and women can travel on their own with or without a man. It's really cool, So we're going there, and then we're going to Lebanon for New Year's, and then Amsterdam on the way back. Yeah, so it's been so great. And but I've also thought, like, oh my God, the money, oh my God, will I still have clients when I get back? Oh my God, acting, and how do I tell my agent I'm leaving for 2 months? But my agent was like, oh, okay, you told us the date's cool. My clients are like, okay, we'll continue in the new year. Money is showing up, like, as if I just feel so lucky that I can leave for 2 months. And it's because I had the intention for a while ago that it's like, it just shows up easily.
Yeah.
Because I decided that that's what I want.
Yeah. I love it. There's so much about this I love. I love the reminder that you're getting that those things that you put on your vision board, like
Yeah.
they're coming true now, right? They're in the past, like even before you knew your boyfriend. And
Right.
it's so awesome. And I'm going to ask you this question. Is the experience worth the wait?
Oh my God. 1,000 times. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's almost like, I know this is going to happen. I'm going to be in India or Saudi Arabia, and it's not as exciting as when I found out it was going to happen.
Yes. Say more about that.
Yeah. So I'll be, having chai tea in the streets of Delhi, and it's going to be amazing. And I love this about my boyfriend. We always go, how freaking cool is this that we're doing this,
Yeah.
But it's like, the moment of realization that it's happening, that I would never give back. Like that, I think that's where the magic is for me, is that, oh my God, it's going to happen. Like getting the tickets and having our visas. And then of course, just like enjoying, it's almost like reliving what I had imagined.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment of unfolding is the absolute magic moment.
Yes. I totally agree. That's so awesome. And it's taken a little while. Like, I love it. I love how you're showing up, because it's who you've become. Like, yeah, my agent's cool. Like, I'm taking off all this, money's come. And it was a process to get here, right? To be oh, is my agent going to be upset that I'm not here? And yeah, so you talk a little bit about just how we worked through that, or how you got to this place.
Well, with the Enchanted Circle, I bring my neurosis in, and you're like, Polly, you've had like 3 agents. Like, if this one doesn't work out, another one's coming, and it's like, oh, yeah, okay, fine, that's true. And just like, it's always that trust that it's working out. And you said something today in the call earlier today, because I didn't get an acting job, and I thought it would be perfect, because I'd be working on my birthday, and it would be right before the trip, and I'd be like, oh, my last acting job, and then I felt like I was off track. And what you said was so comforting. It's like, we're never off track, right? We're still on track. Like, that feeling is still on track to where we're going. Yeah. I love the metaphor of, like, if I was flying from New York City to LA, I might have a layover in Denver.
Yes.
And it's okay to have a layover in Denver, because I'm still going to LA. And even that, if I did have a layover in Denver, I could come see you. Like,
right.
Something extra magical could happen that I hadn't foreseen. So it's like, I'm not limiting myself to possibilities, but staying open for other things to happen. Yeah. And so just coming every week to the calls, and if I had like a question or a doubt, how you always say, like, it's the story we tell is what's going to keep happening. So it's being able to have the awareness to say, okay, this is happening because it's on my way to even better things to happen or to unfold. So, and of course, that is what happens.
Yes.
Something better happens, even though it feels like a detour. It's a better way to get there. It's a more joyful, actually a more joyful way to get there.
Yes, absolutely. And it adds, like, for me, it adds like okay, this is cool. So this is different. Like, this didn't happen, which means something even better is happening.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know for me, it's like, it feels like it's maybe taking a long time, but when I look back at like what's happening now, it's because it took its time. Yeah. Like, the best things took their time to, like, ground themselves and solidify. And I feel like I have a better chance of it sticking, because it's so much more grounded, like a tree trunk that has really deep roots, So it's something that's kind of superficial and easily, like, it could be taken down by anything that's heavier, Like, I feel like I'm growing, my roots are really, really, really deep and thick, that not like I'm this unwavering redwood tree, or I'm beginning to become this unwavering redwood tree. Yeah. So it's okay that it's taking its time.
Yeah. Oh, and I love that you use the redwood metaphor, because that's like, they don't chop down the redwoods, right? Because they've now established, you can't. They've, like, established themselves, like, so established themselves that it's not even an option to, like, get rid of, like, they're there forever. Right?
Forever. And when they do get chopped down, they're like, there's like a monument built for them, and like people come to see them because they're because of how big and large and magnificent they are.
Yes.
So, yeah. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also kind of cool to, like, trust myself, because when we love going. We went to Haiti before, and everyone's like, "You're gonna die! Don't do it." And then we're like, "No, we didn't die." The same thing is happening with Pakistan and Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
My family, like, "You're gonna die!" Like, there's no laws, and I come from I think very progressive liberal family, but even they have their limitations when it comes to like people and countries. And again, it's not baseless. They have a foundation for it. But what's really exciting is to push the limit. And like, we've done our research. We've talked to other travelers that are like telling us Pakistan is a very safe, there is turmoil, but we're not going anywhere near it. And it's always like the government is going against the people, it's political stuff, but it's really cool to be able to go to these places, meet people, and have a small part in showing like these are beautiful places, and there's no reason not to coexist with other people.
Right. It's so good. And like, I've told you this, so like that you're going to Pakistan, like I have a friend whose family is all from Pakistan, and I got to meet a lot of them at the wedding that it came over here. And so for me, like, that's just like extra magic to your trip. I'm just like, oh, it's so amazing.
It is so amazing. And it's kind of, I feel so cool that I can go to places that are quote unquote dangerous and be like, no, it's not. It's magical, and everyone, like, if you can go there, go.
I love that. And I love how solid you are in your own, belief that it is magical. Like, no, I'll be fine. Right. And I think I have a couple of questions about this. So number one, do you think that it's because you've learned to trust your intuition so much? Like, you would know if you shouldn't go. So if you're not getting that, you just can fully trust, this is going to be magical.
Yes. I've had situations like even in New York City where I'm like, don't go there. Like, take this subway, not that subway, and nothing's, I don't question it. I just, this happens. I feel like I'm in more danger in the subway system of New York City than going to Saudi Arabia. Because like, I've seen fights break out on subways. I've heard of people pull guns out, and that's what freaks me out, is like being with someone that is angry on on the L train.
Right.
So I think I work my intuition muscle there a lot. Like, I don't feel good around this person. I'm just going to get out and switch cars, and I don't have to explain anything.
Yes.
And it's funny because it's happened to me where there was a guy who took out like nail clippers, and there was something really not feeling good about it. The next up, like the girl that was sitting next to me and we just both got off at the same time and went to the next train.
Yes.
So I felt supported. Like, we didn't say a single word to each other, but we were like vibing.
Yes.
It was just easy and it was fine. And it was like, it's the same way I feel when I travel with my boyfriend. I feel like because my intention is to be safe and always be surrounded by safety and comfort, even when it's seemingly uncomfortable. Like, I have you in my life, and I have my boyfriend in my life who also have that. So I trust him as much as I trust myself, and he's more daring than I am. And but I think his trust in safety is bigger than mine, and nothing's ever, like, we've never been in danger.
Right.
So I think I've attracted people like that are open and safe, and nothing ever happens to us. So I feel supported and surrounded by that.
That's amazing and so good for our listeners to hear. I love it. So then I know this is going through people's mind as they're listening to this. How do you handle when your family is like, oh my God, that's so dangerous?
I say, you're so right. I make them feel like they're right, because they are. Right. They're right in their own world,
Yeah. It's so true for them.
It's true. Exactly. Yeah. Sorry, cut you off.
No, it reminded me of that. I didn't mean to cut you off. The intention thing, right? Like, it is so true. Like, if that is what their internal system says, like, they should listen and they should honor that, because if they believe it's danger, like, they're likely going to find the danger.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I go, you're so right. And I'm so glad you told me so that I can research this and make sure that that doesn't happen to me. And I think they feel like 10% better, but I feel like if I were to be like, you guys are ignorant and you guys don't get it and blah, blah, then that wouldn't be that. Right. Just leads to conflict, and now I have conflict at home, you know?
Yeah.
But I think it's agreeing with them and and I always feel like it's important for them to see that I understand where they're coming from before they understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
So I always let them feel like they are in the right, you know, and I can see, you know, I reassure them that it's because they love me and they don't want to see anything happen to me. And then I can say, but, you know, look at it this way, like the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is, like, I send them articles of people that have been and like how things are changing, and it helps them feel better. But and also because in Haiti, when we went to Haiti, that's when my sister was like, you lied to me. You said you weren't going to go, you know.
Yeah.
It's only because she loves me. And then,
Yeah.
you know, we showed her how beautiful it is. My boyfriend documented it, and she was like, oh my God, you have to show the world this. You have to, like, people have to know that Haiti's a safe place. So it's because I've come back and proved that it's a beautiful place, that they trust me more and trust my travels more. Yeah.
That's amazing. And again, it's a process. I think that's important for people listening to hear, right? Is it's not just all I'm right and you're wrong. It's honoring them and acknowledging and hearing them, and then opening the door to showing them that this is different. This is what I believe in. This is the experience that I had because I believe that.
Right. Yeah. And then, like, I think there's something really wonderful in just, like you said, like honoring what they believe.
Yeah.
And not letting them feel like they're wrong, because they're not wrong. And I'm, you know, and if they want to think I'm wrong, that's okay too. I can be like, yeah, I can see why you think I'm wrong. And I would agree with you too, you know?
Yeah. Because it doesn't have to change who you are. It's really letting, like, we talk a lot in the Enchanted Circle about staying in your own lane, right? And like, it's just staying in your own lane. It's like, great, like, you want to pass me and you want to go over there, that's awesome. Like, this is where I'm driving and that's where you're driving, and I'm going to stay in my lane because that's where I want to be and where I'm choosing to be and who I'm choosing to be.
Yeah. And it's funny because my mom has actually been to Saudi Arabia a couple of times because my dad lived there. And she has, this was like 10 years ago, and it's so vastly different, but, you know, she's set in her ways that this is the way it is. But also I love the unconditional love she has for me, where, like, she's like, well, my abaya, which is like the traditional wardrobe a woman wears, is in my closet. Take that. Like, even though she, no, but here's my abaya, so you stay safe.
Right.
I love, like, that I can learn that from her. Like, she'll never hold anyone back. She'll voice her opinions, but then she'll be like, but here's this, you know?
Yeah. But let me help you. You're going to do it anyway.
Help you. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. So let's talk a little bit about your trust muscle. You were, like you said before we started, like, you've really been working that out, and maybe that has to do, I think it has to do with travel and life and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's also because I have a birthday coming up, and that always unravels me a little bit. Like, no, what did I do this year? You know, that's just like the very human side of me. And being sick also, like, I felt so helpless being sick, and a part of me was like, you're not that sick, like, get up and do something. Don't be weak. And I'm like, no, but I don't feel like doing it. The trust muscle thing comes up with knowing that I'm everything's working out. Everything's working out. I had a slew of auditions last week that were so, like, in terms of evidence, were amazing. Like, a commercial where the casting director was like, oh, you should read to be our movie star, you know? That was really cool. I didn't get a call back for that. But then I had another audition for a French voiceover, and I'm like, oh, that's right, I speak French, and people, like, trust me speaking French, so that's great. Then I had another one where I had to be have an English accent, and my agent just, like, on a whim, they wanted to have natural British people, and they were like, just go in, have a British accent. Don't let them know you're not. And I was like, cool, this is awesome. Neat that they're in on this. And I got a call back, and I got to, like, all the way to the end. And then yesterday they were like, oh, I went another way. Sorry. So I had a bunch of auditions that I really liked, that I was like, oh, I got this. And then nothing came from that. And that's when the trust muscle is like, don't, you know, it's okay. Take this as evidence and bigger things are opening up. And then today on the call, you're like, yeah, maybe you're not the one commercial I didn't get was hotels.com. You're like, maybe you're not like a piece of the hotels. Maybe you're the voice of hotels.com, like the Expedia or whatever it is, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, okay, yes, I'm going to trust that. And that's the story that I'm going to keep telling because it feels better than like, you're not talented and blah, 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 all the noise. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's like where it's showing up. And then of course, like something wonderful happens when I trust, like when things seem bleak, then I get a text or get something out of the blue comes up and it's like, oh, I'm back.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all good. I had a pit stop in Denver, but I'm back, you know.
But I'm back. Yeah. I'm back on the plane. Like it's good.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly. And I know where I'm going. Yeah.
Yeah.
How does that knowing where you're going, how has that made it easier to just like get back on the plane?
Well, when I was having my meltdown yesterday, I was like, yeah, go all the way. Like, go, like, cry, get it out, scream. Knowing, like, this is healthy. Like, before it's like, oh, I don't want to do this. No. Like, halfway giving myself that.
Yeah.
And this time I was like, you go, girl. Like, cry, scream. And then, like, it passed. And I was like, okay, good job. And being aware that this is, like, this is on the way, like get the feelings out that don't feel so good. And then I can jump back on the horse and, you know, gallop away. And also because it's like a shorter time of sadness and disappointment and being aware, the awareness that it's like just me feeling feelings, but it has nothing to do with what I'm manifesting. Actually helps me, you know, get back on the plane or the horse, whatever it is. Yeah.
I love that. That's so brilliant. It's the way it works. I mean, and it's come, like, I think when you, hopefully if someone's listening to this interview, they've also listened to all of your other interviews, because it seems like, oh yeah, like you can say that. And that's like, of course, right? You're like, yeah, this is like how I am. And yet it has taken some steps to get there, right? It's a process. Yeah. That's all a process too.
Yeah. And it's so worth it. Like to be where I am now and the mindset of like, this is all working. It has to be this way. This is the way it is. Yeah. And I always also think like, oh, you know, when I'm on a talk show and I can talk about failure, like that's the interesting stuff.
Yes.
Like, that's because I think everyone relates to failure, quote unquote failure. Then like, oh yeah, I went out and got all the auditions and it was so easy.
Right. Like,
which is where I want to go eventually.
Yeah.
I will be, but I think it's just more human and relatable to not have it happen so like, you know, so quickly and easily.
Yeah.
I think that's fun to listen to.
It is fun to listen to. Well, and this is what I always think when these things happen. Like when you did today on the call and you're like, oh, I didn't get that one. I'm like, oh, it just makes your story so much more interesting, because not only is it interesting because you didn't get it and that feels like a failure, even though it's not, it makes it more interesting because we get to see how it plays out, because we're taking note, right? And like this is like chapter 4 and it's like, oh, didn't get it, but like we'll get to see in chapter 8 like why was that magical that you didn't get it.
Right. And I also had moments of like, okay, so what do I like in like the dread and like the disheartening of it all? I'm like, okay, so what do I actually, how do I want it to play out? So it helped me get clear. Like I want to go into an audition where I just show up and people go, that's it. Like I don't have to do anything and they can send everybody home. Like that's what I want. I want like, would it be like if I just went in and I could just be myself and people are gravitated and that's exactly like, there's no question.
Right.
So I got even more clear on what I want it to feel like.
Which I love, because in order to be clear on like, that's what I want, you have to, it's growth, right? Like you have to have become the person who could receive that. Right. And so it's even that you want that is like, oh man, you have become this person who is so certain and knows what they want. And that's amazing. Like,
you said it, certainty, the certainty of it.
Yes.
I'm certain that I want this to be fun and easy and effortless.
Yes.
And I only want to work with people that see that in me. And if they question me, then And I've learned this through you. Like, I don't need to work with those people that doubt me.
Yeah.
Because I don't have anything to prove, right? I don't have anything to prove when I align with the right people.
Yes.
And same with them. They don't have to prove anything to me. It's just this like beautiful dance of magic.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so amazing. I love it. And I just remembered one other thing that we definitely need to talk about, because about this time last year, you were getting ready to go on your trip, and you had a play in the beginning of the year.
Yes. Yeah.
And you just got asked to do that play again, but for more money. Like, you asked for more money, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this time, because before it was like, oh, the union wants me to get this much money. Like, I was putting it on the union versus like, no, I want to make this. And this time the union was like, yeah, you would get $400 and something to do 4 shows. And I was like, what? I'm not doing that show for $100 because I invest so much into that show, emotionally.
Yes.
And so I told the creator, I'm like, this is what the union says, but that's not good enough for me. I can't do it for that amount. And then she was like, and I left it. I had a little freak out, like, oh my God, who am I? But again, my boyfriend was like backing me up, which helps. And my future self was also backing me up. And then the next day she was like, well, how much would you want? And then I was like, oh, that was easy. I told her that I would at least want $1,000 to do 4 shows. And that feels right to me. And then she said, okay, let me see what they can do. So I felt really good about that. And she didn't react the way I was afraid that she would. I think that was a big learning lesson for me. And so we haven't heard back, but she now knows what I'm able to do, what I'm okay with. And that feels good.
Oh, and it feels so good. And I think the reason she didn't react, because we have people in our lives that I think are definitely, maybe they're meant to be reflections, or they are just because I don't know, they have chords in them that can be struck, I guess is the right way to say that. Right. And so, which everybody does, but it's the certainty that you went in like, no, this is what I want, is why I believe she didn't react that way, because we both know she has had the opportunity in the past and she's reacted differently. Right.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And I didn't have to justify like why I thought I deserved $1,000 to do 4 shows. And she had even, in one of the texts before, she said, remember, some off-Broadway shows pay $500 for 8 shows a week. And I was like, okay. And I was like, well, this isn't just any show, and I'm not just any actress. And I'd never said that before to anyone. But I think that's also why she was like, okay, fine. How much do you want?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like, let's talk. I mean, what's happened since your last birthday? You're able to say that. Like,
right. Yeah. And at first I was like, am I being a diva? I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, this is like for quality people, you get quality work and you get quality pay, and if no one's going to back me up, then like that, what's the point, So,
right.
Because I was hiding with the union, saying like, oh, I could have said the union needs you to pay this, but that wouldn't have been honest. And and that doesn't feel good. So I was actually very happy that I could say that. And I didn't say like, as I'm texting, I was like, I hope you understand. And I was like, no, take that out. So I didn't wrote, I hope you understand.
Yay.
So I know I had you in my head. I always have you in my mind.
That's awesome. I love it. So much I love about this is that, like we've been talking about how it's a process and getting there. And like that was a process too, right? Because before we might have had like 2 or 3 conversations about that, right?
Yeah.
Which is awesome. And it all led to that moment, right? It's all perfect to learn in the beginning. And I'm just like over here, like cheering, like, yes, you like, I get to hear the whole story because I didn't even hear it because it didn't come up as like an issue, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was talking about certainty. I was certain that you would back me up.
Yes.
It would like a short and sweet text.
Yes.
I was like, I got it. Yeah. So it's really awesome, again, to be supported by people I've attracted into my life, like you and everyone in the Enchanted Circle.
That's amazing. I love it. And so, of course, you're going to get way more money. I love it. I love it. Amazing. Anything else that you want to share about this moment in your journey?
Well, I think that it's, having talked to you just now, I feel like it is up to us to find the certainty and total uncertainty. Like right now,
Yes.
I don't know what my next acting job is. I don't know what's going to happen. I have this trip coming up. I don't know where, like, I don't know a lot of things, but like having the certainty of where I'm going is, and know, like being able to talk about how everything is unfolding is so great because I know it's going to work out. Like I'm certain that things work out and align. And I'm certain, like you've told me, that the story we want is a story that keeps happening, that we keep telling ourselves is what happens. So I can be certain in the story I want and then let the rest go.
Yay. Oh, that's such good. That's amazing. I love it. Tell everyone where they can find your amazing self.
Well, you can find me on Instagram at Paulie, Paulie, Golightly, Golighty, Paulie Golightly. That's my handle on Instagram.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Paulie, for sharing this moment in your journey. It's amazing. I just love every time we get to talk to you.
I love talking to you. So thank you for having me.
My pleasure. And thank you all for listening. I know that you got some amazing tips and things out of that interview. So make sure to come back and check out Paulie's next interview in her Years of Growth series.
Thank you for joining us on the Law of Attraction Manifesting Success Stories show. To learn more about enrolling in the Enchanted Circle, go to CassieParks.com.